o'clock on the East Coast, 2 hours nonstop MLB DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the first pitch. It's hump day. We have an 8-game slate. Some games being played currently. Some have already finished. Myself and TJ Zwartz, of course, you all know him as the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And he'll be bringing along, presumably, assuming we get enough likes, Spidey. The old Spidey Bombs will be on layaway as well. You guys get chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. If there's anything dicey as far as precipitation, weather-wise, he'll be on top of it. 6:15 is crunch time. Joining him, you get Derek Carty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz, and Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, 2-time millionaire winner. What's up, TJ? How's Wednesday treating you?
You know, it's not treating me too bad. It's been a tough start to the week. I'm a COVID guy right now. Yesterday was just absolutely hell, but today I'm picking things back up, doing a little bit better. Had a good, so far so good on the early slate. The first Spidey Bum was Christian Walker, who double-donged, and my tournament stack to win it all was Arizona, and obviously they had a real strong game against Heedy. And so, yeah, it's so far so good. Let's keep it going for the main slate.
Yeah, I did not play the early slate. 12-7 currently in the ninth inning. Well, Arizona just got out in the top of the ninth, but yeah, if you stack the top half of that Arizona lineup, you're looking pretty good with Marte banging one out, Gurriel banging one out, and like you said, double dong for Walker. A nice call there with the Spidey. You get 2 for that? How does that work with the official scoreboard of Spidey Bombs? You should get 2, I think. I don't know. I don't make the rules.
Yeah. We'll count it. We'll count it as 2 for sure. But yeah, that game went pretty well so far, and then as long as the Padres can do a little bit of something here, and the Dodgers pick it up a little bit against Nola, which it seems like they're doing right now, it should be a very solid morning.
I wanted to watch that the prospect for Arizona pitch. I didn't get a chance to do so, but it looks like he got his face punched in pretty hard, giving up 7 runs.
He was fine except for like it honestly, it was the same for Heedy today. Anything that was going up, I'm not sure what the temperature was, but like the balls were carrying. He gave up, and so the Texas prospect gave up 4 home runs, 2 of them to Josh Jung. He didn't honestly look that bad. They just kept him in there maybe a little bit too long, and all the fly balls turned into home runs.
And Gavin Stone's another guy I had my eye on for the Dodgers, and he's really scuffling against Philadelphia. Not sure if it's on the same slate, but 5-1 there, bottom of the third. Not looking good. No Case as well. 7 hits. Philadelphia hitting them pretty hard. Thanks for jumping on, by the way. Thanks for powering through. Hope you feel better. Wasn't aware you were you're playing ill. Double work too. You were on the show earlier with the crunch time. I guess it was just crunch time earlier.
I'm thankful. Yeah, just crunch time earlier. I'm thankful for Luch and Keith because I was supposed to be on the morning grind last night, and Luch found the sub. Keith stepped in for me. Like, I'm feeling much better today. I got a bit of a stuffed up nose, a bit of a head cold feeling. That's basically all it is. It just feels like a minor head cold, but yesterday was tough.
Do you want to say what's up to those out there in chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. All of that is appreciated. You know, another reason to turn on notifications now, TJ, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, is a brand new show here on the RotoGrinders network, 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 in the a.m. on the East Coast. That's really, really early for you. I believe if I'm doing the math here, I went to UCF, so forgive me if I'm wrong. 8:30 in the morning, is that your mountain time? Yes?
Yeah.
Mountain?
Right now, yeah. Yeah, we switched.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. You depending on the time of year?
Saskatchewan doesn't ever change time. And so sometimes we're mountain time, sometimes we're Pacific.
Oh, okay. I see. I gotcha. Dependent upon yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Like Arizona.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like Arizona.
Arizona doesn't budge either. Yeah, for whatever reason, Arizona does not change their time. So 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 on the East Coast. Will, you all know Will. Chief Justice, you know him from his Discord channel as well. 10:30 in the morning is a brand new show. It's going to be called Pick'em, the Pick'em Show, 10:30 in the morning, and it focuses mostly on underdog. Is it Take Your Pick'em? It's a brand new show. It's Will's Take Your Pick'em Show. Is that all right? I didn't name it. It's good. Maybe it's just me. I'm having an issue with it. My bad, but good content if nothing else. So a lot of times, if you're playing on things like underdog, prize picks, there's some really vulnerable lines. Blender talks about this a lot too when we do the shows 11 o'clock, he's already knocked out a bunch of stuff he likes on Prize Picks. He looks at the bat. Basically, that's what he does. Looks at the bat and what's wrong, and there you go. And he hammers it, does round robins, and he has himself a good time. The lines change. The closer and closer we get to lock, the closer we get to the game starting, the more refined, the more sharp those lines become. And the purpose of that show being on so early is because Will is going to help you take advantage of soft lines. If you're focusing on underdog and on Prize Picks, people ask us all the time throughout the show, what do you like on Prize Picks or underdog, or just like as far as this player prop? Well, Will's going to help you out early in the morning. Get those quicker, get those faster, before the line adjusts. Expose those bad lines. Check out Take Your Pick'em, the Take Your Pick'em show, 10:30 with Will, Chief Justice. And of course, after the show, you can talk with Will. You can hang out with Will and big crew there in the Discord, in Will's Discord channel, which of course is called the Prop Shop. Couldn't think of it for some reason. I don't know why. It's not coming to me. Chief's Prop Shop. That is a free Discord channel. Some of the Discord channels are not free. Some are premium. Of course, I wouldn't mention that if it wasn't for everybody. So feel free to check that out and discuss such things as underdog, Prize Picks, and lots of, sweat together. The joint sweat is what Will likes to talk about all the time. All right, this slate tonight. Man, I love last night's slate. It's just sort of weird how things go. I love the slate last night. I got absolutely smashed. I was terrible. Lost basically all my American dollars. Tonight, I'm willing. I need you to sway me, TJ. I don't know. Are we playing the feud again? I'm open to a lot of stuff. I don't have a lot of stands. This is what I absolutely love. But a lot of things I like, I'm willing to do this and I'm willing to do that. My lineups are not made yet. How do you feel about this slate as an overall? Because I'm pretty open to different paths. How about yourself?
Yeah, that's very similar to how I feel. I think this is probably going to be a pretty spread out pitching slate for me, and then a pretty concentrated slate with bats. I'm with you. There's not much to love, but there's a lot to like.
Yeah. Ohtani, the best pitcher in the slate, taking on St. Louis. St. Louis, the Cardinals have been scuffling for sure. Stacked them up last night. That did not work out for your boy. Every single day, STL Cards is getting sadder and more depressed on Twitter. I'm kind of enjoying it, but not to like. But he's a really bummed out Cardinals fan. The Cardinals have been sputtering, and of course they're historically much better versus lefties than they are versus righties. Ohtani is just an uber awesome righty. He's expensive though. He's pricey. We have a game in Coors. A game in Coors with two lefties that both give up a fair bit of fly balls. Beyond that, I like the Fenway stuff. I don't like the weather in Fenway for what it's worth. Alek Manoah, you tell me about Alek Manoah, because nobody cares about my season-long team, but it's gotten so bad I'm benching on my season-long team this week. That's how bad it is, Alek Manoah. And watching him pitch, he gets lucky by only getting beat up somewhat. Can't throw strikes. It's kind of a problem. And this Boston team is not the easiest matchup necessarily. Not the greatest matchup, but the ballpark's not great either. Weather Edge, Chief Meteorologist Weather Edge, premium product. We have it at, I was just looking at this before the show.
Chief Meteorologist Weather Edge.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Well, it is kind of. If it was AI.
Who's your chief meteorologist over there, RotoGrinders? That's Weather Edge.
Yeah. I mean, AI is taking over. I'm not sure if you've heard. Did you not get the memo? What do you want from me? I goofed. I was texting.
I'm the one running at half capacity today, but Dean is struggling with the reads, the names of things, people's names. The Spidey Bomb's not struggling, though. Christian Walker double dong this morning. We'll give one every 50 likes. Let's bump these likes up. We're only at 35 right now. Let's get this up to 50 nice and quick and start the show off with a Spidey Bomb.
So Chief Meteorologist Weather Edge is saying 24-game sample. Now I'm just pot committed to it at this point, right? Now it's just a bit. I meant to do that. 74-game sample in Boston, Fenway. Similar weather, similar games, 51 degrees, 8 miles per hour blowing in basically from center field. 42 is the old dew point. We've seen a decrease in homers at 31%, which I think is pretty significant. 17% hit as far as runs as well. 9.5 total, one of the bigger totals on the board. Toronto has got a team total above 5, and Pavetta, somebody I want to pick on for sure. And Manoah, I can't trust him. And there's a lot of stuff that's just sort of wishy-washy as far as pitchers in this slate. But and Logan Gilbert, we'll talk about him in a second. He's going to be really, really, really popular. Logan Gilbert. We saw last night the battle of the Millers. I don't know if you watched the show yesterday, but Tim, Tasteful Tides, was talking about he hates fun, which is a weird take, but okay, that's his take. And to the point, like he enjoys like a pitcher's duel, like a zero. He must have loved the Millers going at it last night with Seattle and Oakland, the two youngsters. I believe one left the game with a no-hitter, if I'm not mistaken. 2-1 game or something like that in the end. I think it was 0-0 in the seventh. But, Gilbert taking on this Oakland team. It's, spoiler alert, not good.
I stacked. I would have had a terrible night last night too, but in my single entry, I stacked up the Brewers with the Angels. Didn't work, but my two pitchers were the two Millers, and so I actually was like the second last person in the mid cash in the 121 single entry.
There you go. Yeah. I'll take it, man. I was looking the mid cash just to salvage, and I could not quite get there, but I did have one where I played the Millers together. I think that was my only lineup that actually cashed. The rest were we threw those in the garbage can. Hunter Brown, I had a lot of Hunter Brown. Didn't work out. He was getting squeezed a little bit, but he also was a little bit wild. And who was the other guy? Zach Allen. Well, Zach Allen was not spectacular either in Texas. Didn't get completely blown up. Was not what you wanted. Cole was meh. He was fine, but not an elite game. Not worth spending up, I guess. Right? Just play the two Millers that were super cheap and load up on the bats, and I think get yourself some Baltimore basically. All right, back to tonight. What do you think of Logan Gilbert's chalk? I was jumping back and forth as far as our ownership projections with the Plate IQ projections. With that's what you get with RG Premium, and then the bat, and they're pretty similar, but it was a little bit different as far as Ohtani, which I think is an interesting conversation. DK wise, Gilbert, according to our Plate IQ projections, 49% ownership. Obviously, on DK, you got to roster two of these guys, and 7 or 8% on Ohtani. Like 7 or 8% on Ohtani seems kind of outrageous. Definitely going above that. Now, if you look at the bat, it's saying essentially the same thing, but a little bit lesser degree. Like it's got Ohtani at 17% and Gilbert at 43%. Some guys in the middle we'll talk about as well. But I just think that, like, as a general thought, I'm going to come in over on Ohtani. If it's 7%, if it's 17%, I want more than that. I know it's expensive, but I'll figure it out. And then there's Chalky Gilbert, 43, 45, 48%. And you mentioned the single entry, the 121. It's going to be higher than that, right? You know how that works with ownership and single entry stuff. When it comes to the chalk, especially pitching chalk, that stuff condenses. He'll be like 70% in there. So let's start with that. Whichever pitcher we want to start with as far as Gilbert and Ohtani. Are we playing the feud today? Do we have our pitchers sorted or no? No feud.
We could, but it would be difficult because of how many pitchers I'm playing today.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll pass.
Like we could play what pitchers am I not playing today?
Yeah.
There's only 5.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's put that on the back burner and we can play that. We will play that. But let's talk about Logan Gilbert and Ohtani first.
So Logan Gilbert, I do think that's good chalk, especially on DraftKings where he's priced nice and cheap. Like it's Oakland, it's a pitcher's park, and it's not a very good team. We're worried about Rooker. Maybe we're a little bit worried about Langoliers, maybe Laureano, but nobody else. Like that's going to be it. And so Gilbert is without a doubt the top guy on the board right now in my single entry. I have both pitchers in that same game. Ohtani, I think I have my next set of lineups coming in right now. Come on, build those last 5. What's taking you so long? I know Gilbert's going to be my number 1. Like I'm going to have over 50% Gilbert today. I'll probably be a little bit over the field. But then coming in at number 2, it is Ohtani at 25. And then I'm just basically sprinkling it out and spreading around from there. Stroman, Sears, Varland, Cease, Schmidt. All guys I'm getting in the 10 to 20% range. I am getting overweight on Alek Manoah because even though he's been terrible, they brought that up before the season. Like, hey, he was hurt and didn't manage to get his conditioning done before spring training. He's going to be playing himself into shape and he might struggle at the start of the year. Started getting a little bit better the last 2 games other than those walks last game. And it's not hard to get overweight on the less than 5% we're projecting him for right now. So he's somebody I'm going to get overweight on. And then I'll take some MME flyers on like Irvin, Michaelis, and Bieber.
4 walks last start. You threw out the Yankee start. 4 walks, 4 walks, 5 walks, 4 walks. That's just unacceptable. The walks are too high and the Ks are too low. But I hear you, and he is cheap enough. Like if you covered the price, and I didn't know anything about it, I just started watching baseball today, and I know my information from last year. Manoah certainly seems too cheap at 7.2. A's lineup just came out, by the way. Ruiz, Kemp, Rooker, Laureano, JJ Bleday got called up. I think this is his first game of the year. He was a former Marlin prospect that was traded straight up for AJ Puck. Langoliers, Peterson, Noda, and Allen is your Oakland lineup. Bleday must be 2K. I don't really want to pick on Gilbert, but all right, yeah, he's 2K. I guess it's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. I have no idea what he's doing in the minors, but can't be any worse than what some of the stuff that Oakland is rolling out these days. Comment in chat. They're talking about playing Bieber versus the watered down Yankees, and without looking, how many Bieber's K rate this year has been, and I'm kind of framing this, highly unspectacular. If you line them all up this season, he's got a higher K rate than just 2 pitchers on this slate. 2 pitchers of the 5 that you are not playing, I'm pretty sure. I assume you're not, if you want to segue into that, but 17.1% Ks this year for Bieber. The ERA 3.11. He's been lucky according to Sierra 4.67. His home on the fly ball 6.3%, super lucky. His BABIP 2.268. That's lucky as well. Leaving on 75% of his base runners. I know this Yankee team's not good, and I know this slate's not amazing for pitchers, but I'm not falling over myself to play Bieber. Can you play him? I suppose. But what he's showing right now in 2023 is really, really mediocre, especially the Ks. The Ks are bad.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, he is in my pool, but he is my least owned pitcher today of everyone in my pool, just because he could have a good game, but I don't know how much upside there is.
Frederick's asking a question. I don't know if we have an answer for this, but I think we can kind of answer around it. Anyone know how often double pitchers in same game win in large GBPs? I mean, look, I'm sure, I don't know who won last night, but it's very possible the double Millers in the same game won. And of course,
double Millers did win last night.
Yeah, you can't get 2 W's
Actually,
in the same game.
Miller
like,
Cole won last night, but the double Millers outscored Cole. Like, both Millers outscored Cole.
Yeah. But just the point is, I guess it's kind of a roundabout way of asking, like, can you roster 2 pitchers in the same game in large field tournaments? Of course you can. Do you want 2 wins? Of course. Does it hurt your overall ceiling? I guess a slight tick, but not really. Wins are not that valuable. I assume you're okay rostering 2 pitchers in the same game. You don't care, right?
Yeah, 100%. That is absolutely no issue at all to me. As much as it slightly lowers your ceiling, it also slightly raises your floor. Because one of them is likely to get the win.
Not likely, but I know what you're saying. But yeah, even like the big favorites, like their chance, like I know you can bet like the chances of a pitcher like actually winning. Still, maybe it's like you're gonna lay a bit of juice for like a huge favorite or something like that. But even like let me pull up the bat. I know
it's irrelevant because you're not looking at Sears today expecting him to get the win. You know what I mean? Gilbert, you are 100% expecting to get the quote unquote win and get you those 4 extra points on DraftKings, 6 extra points on Fanduel, whatever it is. That's not really what you're looking for out of Cease, anyways.
This isn't important, but it's just worth noting. According to the bat, there is not one player, one pitcher throwing baseballs tonight that has a better chance of winning than not winning. According to the bat, Logan Gilbert's got a 0.47 chance or 47% chance, or his win expectancy tonight is 0.47, so less than half.
And what Sears is?
I understand what you're saying.
What Sears is?
Say it again?
What Sears is win percentage?
0.26. Yeah,
so
a lot of times somebody
plus 47. Yeah. 26% plus 47% gets you up to what, 73%, 79%, something like that. I don't know. My brain's not working. COVID. So you get almost an 80% chance of a win by playing both of them. So it theoretically raises your floor.
Does it work that way? Can you add up 2 percentages? And I don't think it works that way.
Well, yeah, because they're in the same game.
Yeah, I don't know if it works that way.
80% of the time, the win will go to one of the two starting pitchers. The other 20%, it'll go to a bullpen guy.
60% of the time works every time? Is that what you said? That's what I heard.
No, this is very easy, basic math to follow.
I don't think this is the correct way to look at it.
In one game, one of them will get the win about 80% of the time.
I don't think this is correct. I think this is flawed. I think this is faulty math. I understand what you're saying. This doesn't matter.
A bullpen player wins a game
more often than you think.
Probably so the chat 30% of the time.
So Shawnee says I'm right. Cam says TJ's right. Stop arguing. And Hoosier saying Banner says that's not how it works. Canadian math. So you're down 2-1. I don't think that's correct. This doesn't matter. We shouldn't get derailed, but it's not an important conversation. But I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. But I'm not going to argue about it. All right. Let's talk about Dylan Cease. How do you feel about Dylan Cease tonight?
I'm not super I'm going to be under the field on Dylan Cease today. I'm going to be a little bit over on Shohei and a little bit under on Dylan Cease just because of that walk rate. But he's got the potential to break a slate, but he's also inconsistent and walks a lot of guys. So I'm going to be playing some Cease today, but I'm going to be underweight to the field.
All right. So the field, as far as Cease, has just doing a little refresh. I wanted to get a new batch of ownership, if possible, if it was available. According to the bat, we got 29% for Dylan Cease. We got to talk about Louis Varland, who gets 18%. You think that's correct for Cease, 29%? I think that's about right. Minnesota. There's a lot of strikeouts in that lineup, too. I was looking at that lineup earlier. Pretty patient, which is what you don't want for Cease, because Cease, while he has big strikeouts, he walks too many guys, unfortunately, dating back to last season. We're talking about 10.5% walks, 29.7% as far as Ks, which is pretty good. But this lineup, very patient, 10% walks, but also 26% strikeouts. I like Cease. He's in the pool. It's not a lock button situation, but I think I feel good about him. And I feel good enough that he's like one of my favorite pitchers in the slate. Do you have a Louis Varland take? I see the chat talking about Varland as well. I'm not really sure what to do with him, to be honest.
He's very cheap in playing a White Sox team that has just been abysmal this year. And so because of that, I like Louis Varland. Now, what I don't like about Louis Varland is he's been reverse splitsy. Now, the thing with him is he strikes out more lefties than he does righties, all the way going back to last year as well. Hard hit rate, higher to right-handed bats. ISO, strikeout, everything is worse to righties than it is lefties. And this is a lineup that Benintendi, Sheets, Grandal are going to be the only lefties they throw out there today. And so Vaughn, Jimenez, Berger, all three of these guys might, Roberts, all four of these guys could potentially hit one out of the park today, but he could still end up going 5 innings with maybe 7 or 8 Ks. And so at his price, I definitely think he is reasonable. And I'm okay with getting there. He's in that clump of tier 2 pitchers for me that I'm getting in the 20-ish% range, but not somebody I'm super excited to play by any means. We have reached enough likes for the first Spidey Bomb. Let's get it up to 100 likes for Spidey Bomb number 2. But I'm going to pick just one of the hottest players in baseball who has been been a Spidey Bomb twice in the past week and a half, and the odds still have not adjusted for him. Heck yeah, let's go for it.
I mean, I think it's is he batting 8th today?
No.
Oh, that's a different person. Never mind. I thought it was Wisdom. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Feel free to tell the people your Spidey Bomb.
It's Bo. It's Bo Bichette. His odds just are consistently broken. He's plus 525 on Caesars. He's plus 480 on FanDuel today. And it should probably be about 380 or 400. And we have him projected far better than his odds currently are. He's been hitting the ball so well lately. Toronto's probably the top offense outside of Coors today that we're going to be looking to target. If you look at the rest of the odds on this team, you got guys like Vlad who are why isn't this wanting to pop up for me here? Vlad is plus 310, and you compare that to plus 525 on Caesars for Bo Bichette, just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Pivetta also gives up a fair bit of homers. Fly ball guy, dating back to last season, we're talking about, 42% fly balls, 1.41 homers per 9. That's even protected by a pretty good homer and a fly ball, just short of 13%. I like that a good bit. And I just love Bichette when he swings so hard. He's trying to hit a homer, which I can appreciate that when I roster him. I don't know why I thought it was Wisdom. Wisdom was a guy you've recently he's Spidey likes Wisdom, right? I feel like he's been thrown out a fair bit of times. That's why I was thinking that's who you're going with. But maybe he's on layaway. Who knows?
But like Bo went 5 for 5 with a walk the other night and a home run when we called him for a Spidey bomb. So that's why we had to bring that one up.
He had 6 at bats. How many runs did they put up? That was the day he let off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful when your leadoff hitter gets that 6th. I mean, the 5th one is nice to get, but when you get the 6th, that's just outrageous. Let's play the feud and let's knock out the 5 pitchers that you're not pitching. Okay. The 5 pitchers that you are not playing today. You're not playing Eric Lauer.
No.
Okay. You're not playing Zach Greinke.
Not in the pool.
You're not playing Kyle Freeland?
No, not in the pool.
You are not playing Nick Pivetta. I think you're not playing. You're more on the Toronto side.
Out of the pool.
Okay. All right. Woo! One more left, right? One more? Okay.
Yeah.
Man. You're gonna play Manoah. I think you have to get a taste of Jake Irvin. Like, he's just throwing baseballs professionally. And he's 4K. So I think he kind of opens stuff up, and he's not good, not a prospect. He's like 25, 26 years old, and they're just looking to eat innings out there with Washington, but he's 4K. So I think we'll talk about it. I think, let me just say this. I think you have some Jake Irvin.
I do.
You got a taste?
I do. I got a little taste of Jake Irvin.
And that's the pitch, right? The pitch is he's 4K, and that's that, right? There's nothing spectacular here, but BABIP goes his way, and he's 4K. And it's not like this huge opportunity cost as far as pitchers, right? Unless you want to say something like you want to give the accolades for Jake Irvin, by all means, go for it. But I don't really know how much they exist.
Yeah, not too many accolades, just other than he's 4K. And so, he's 4K, I want to play him. Yeah.
Randall says Jake Irvin, oof. Hey, we live in the world of salary cap, and he opens stuff up, and that's that. This is not an endorsement. Nobody's saying Jake Irvin's like going to be the next Cy Young or whatever. Okay, so let's see. We're
also not saying load him up in your single entry for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. You can sprinkle him in if you're playing lots of lineups.
What do you have, like 5%, 6%, something like that?
10 in 150 lineups.
Okay. Yes, we know he's not good. The chat's like, he's not good. We know. But also, even if you're not good, sometimes pitchers just survive. That happens plenty of times. Who is the last one? Who's the last one that's just not in your pool? You're going to have Clark Schmidt in there, I think. He's cheap enough. I know that Cleveland's a tough matchup as far as strikeouts, but his Ks have seen a spike of late, and he's still really, really cheap on DK. So I think Clark Schmidt should be in the pool. He's in your pool, yes?
Yeah.
Anything you want to say?
As long as weather doesn't kick that one out for us.
Let me pull that up. Let's see if Roth has given an update, because it was yellow orange when the show started.
He just tweeted, "I'm eyeing New York and Oakland tonight, and a few others." So Oakland, that's a little worrisome, obviously. There's not really much rain in New York, but but it's basically crawling. So if a batch does end up over the ballpark, it could be a long night. Still, I'm optimistic and have lowered the risk a bit. So the biggest thing we'll have to see with that one is he's optimistic they're going to play. But when would that batch come? And so, if we get a before game delay, I think that would probably be okay. He says there's a legitimate but unlikely scenario that light rain sets up over New York before first pitch. They delay, it never moves, and they end up not playing. But I just think that risk is low enough that we can drop the orange and go straight to yellow here. And so with that being said, I think we can play pitchers there. If they get a delay before the game starts, that's still fine, because it doesn't really seem like they would delay if they do start it.
All right. I just dropped if you didn't catch all that, what TJ was saying, he was reading the weather report that Roth just updated. Like you said, Cleveland, New York was yellow-orange. Now it's just a straight yellow. You want to keep an eye on that. Of course, Roth will be on in about 45 minutes if anything changes. Until then, we have just a chief meteorologist AI, right? Chief meteorologist Weather Edge we can look at. We'll talk about that throughout the show also. But I still have to get the fifth pitcher that you're not playing it at all. And I don't really know where to go with this, to be honest. It's not Freeland. It's not Lauer. I mean, those guys are not in your lineup. Pavetta, Greinke. It could be Gibson. Mikolas? Is it Miles Mikolas? It could be JP Sears, who, he's shown some promise in the minors, but has not translated to the majors just yet. It's Sears one of those
is my
guys.
Third highest owned pitcher.
Whoa. Okay. Speak on that. That's surprising.
I don't know. He's got the tag from Cheese, and that's usually good enough for me. But if you dive into his stats this season, he's given up a lot of hard contact and a lot of fly balls. But this is also Oakland, where that's not the worst place to be doing that. He's striking out 30% of right-handed bats this year, and going up against the Seattle lineup with a ton of strikeouts in it. So they got certain guys that don't strike out a lot, like a Pollock and like a France, but even Rodriguez and Hernandez, who hit the ball with a ton of power, they also K a lot. And so he's cheap. He's in Oakland, and there's a ton of Ks in that lineup, and he's been striking out 30% of righties this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's small sample stuff. And like you mentioned, the Ks this season, you know how many homers he's given up this year? If you want to play the small sample game, 2.42 homers per 9, which is that's too many. And that's 61% fly balls, TJ. It's not even like he's been terribly unlucky when it comes to homer and the fly ball stuff. He's somewhat protecting that ballpark in Oakland, a massive ballpark. It's only 15.6% homer and the fly ball. It's not a huge number. It's just he's given up so many fly balls. I'm not saying you can't play him. That's really surprising that he's your third highest pitcher. He is one of those guys, though, if you look at his minor league stuff, he had a lot of Ks, and it just has not translated. I'm pulling it up I guess it was last year. I want to say was minor league numbers kind of popped from a strikeout perspective, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so it's not Sears, so it's either Mikolas or Michaelis. I never know. I hear it both ways. Don't know what the official way is as far as pronouncing his name, or it is. It could be Kyle Gibson's just like a professional pitcher. He's fine. Never excited to play him. I think it's Michaelis. It's Michaelis. I think that's the one you don't have any action on. You have no shares.
No, it's Kyle Gibson. Just based on almost the same pitcher as like a guy like Michaelis, but he's so much more expensive. And there's just no need for me to pay up for a guy like Michaelis or for a guy like Kyle Gibson today when almost at the exact same price. I would just rather play Logan Gilbert.
The chat's asking if J-Rod is okay. Yesterday, he was in the lineup and then pulled from it, right? Wasn't he in the lineup and then they took him out? He's missed several days. No Seattle lineups just yet. It is a late game as well in Oakland, so I don't know if or when we're going to get that lineup, but I'm not optimistic if he's going to play today. Do we have anything as far as a tweet out there, the possibilities of J-Rod pitching? And certainly if you have JP Sears, you're rooting against. Well, you're not rooting for injury. You just take another day, J-Rod. Please take another seat. You'd rather not see this.
Yes and no. Like, obviously, there's a lot of power, and he's a great hitter, but this is still a dude with a 30% strikeout rate.
Yeah, but you don't want to. I mean, he's going to get replaced by, I don't know who would be the replacement for Jay. Whoever it is going to be significantly worse and probably strikes out a fair bit as well.
Yeah. Like, I guess that's a great point. It depends on who they replace him with. It's just like if it's somebody like last night when when Julio Rodriguez got scratched, it was JP Crawford who got bumped to the leadoff. And while the potency of the offense is obviously so much worse with JP Crawford batting leadoff as opposed to Julio Rodriguez, that's still a guy who strikes out 15% of the time as opposed to 30%. And so it'll depend on who it is and who the strikeout rate is for me. But obviously, yeah, like the downside is a lot worse with Julio Rodriguez in there. But I do think he also provides pitching upside for a pitcher to go up against him.
4.6 total for Seattle is a pretty big number in that ballpark. Again, locked in for 9, and we know how terrible that Oakland bullpen's been this season as well. Seattle's one of my I don't know if they're kind of off the board. We talk about some stacks. I'm trying to see if I ranked them. I think I did. Anything else to say as far as pitchers? You want to finalize the pitching? Give us a final thought on that until we pivot over to stacks. Chat, by all means, if we missed anything as far as pitchers, fire it out. Do my best to cover it, and then we'll start the hitting conversation. Give us the final thought when it comes to pitchers.
Gilbert is the only one that I'm going super heavy on. Ohtani is my second highest owned by a very wide margin. And then after that, it's just getting spread completely out between Sears, Varland, Stroman, Schmidt, Michaelis, Cease, Irvin, Manoah, Bieber. The player I'm going to be the most overweight on today is going to be Shohei Ohtani. The one I'm going to be the most underweight on will be Dylan Cease. And basically everybody else, I'm going to be pretty darn close to the field.
All right, let's talk about stacks. Coors Field, we have a 6 total for Milwaukee, 6 on the Colorado side. Basically a coin toss game, 12 total there. That's where we have to start the conversation as far as Coors. We don't have a Milwaukee lineup just yet. I presume we're going to see guys like Brousseau and Miller and some possible guys that might get the hook later on in the game. This goes down. Hard to predict, but depends upon where it lands. If it's game relevant, yada, yada. But some potential pinch hit guys in that Milwaukee lineup. And then there's Colorado against Eric Lauer. The power righties look pretty good. Don't really love this Colorado lineup, but, even just Chris Bryant, CJ Cron, those two, Diaz, the catcher, perfectly fine. And there's other cheap stuff as well. Where are you at currently as far as Coors? Any Coors rules? You think you're going to be over, under, kind of with the field when it comes to Coors today?
Yeah, probably pretty close to with the field on Coors today. It'll depend a lot on this Milwaukee lineup that we're still waiting for. If we really do get a bunch of these cheap guys in here, then I'm probably gonna get to Milwaukee more than any other team today because it'll allow me to play Ohtani and Gilbert together in those lineups. Colorado, I kind of so Milwaukee, Toronto, and Colorado are kind of my tier 1. Based on salary, I have Milwaukee above the other ones just because there's some really cheap bats you can get to in that lineup.
By the way, I was just pulling this up on the fly. I want to see after a month basically into the season how bad Oakland's been. I know we're not talking about pitchers and stuff. We can talk about Seattle as well. Oakland, and we don't talk about this often either as far as runs per game. Oakland's given up 7.73 runs per game to opponents, which is more than 1.5 runs in the second worst team in baseball. That is just outrageous how bad they've been. 6.17, the White Sox, what it's worth. Second worst team as far as yielding runs. Colorado, not surprisingly, the third worst. Do you know who the team's giving up the fewest amount of runs? They're winning a lot of games. They're in the state of Florida. It's not the Marlins. It's the Rays.
Sorry, I missed what that question was. I wasn't ready to guess.
Okay. I was like, yeah, no worries. 3.1 runs per game for Tampa. So the White Sox almost doubling it up in Oakland for sure, doubling up just how bad Oakland has been this season. And again, their ballpark is not suited for yielding runs either. Sears has given everybody 15
one thing I want to point out quick with Sears, and I'm not saying I'm locking in Sears and that he's some phenomenal play today, but you could get at sub 20% ownership today on DraftKings at less than 6K, JP Sears, who has had more fantasy points per game. In fact, more fantasy points on the season than Dylan Cease in one less game, who's at 10.3K on DraftKings picking up 30% ownership. And so it's less about, I love me some JP Sears, and more just I'm going to play all the pitchers on this slate because outside of Logan Gilbert's, nobody really stands out on a point per dollar basis as that good.
Yeah, which I think means that maybe I should grab more Ohtani than the field, but I understand the point you're making too. But I just
I'm almost doubling Ohtani.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that wherever we saw him between 7 and 17% as far as the ownership projection, I think I'm going to have at least 30 and just screw it. I understand that, salary cap and all that kind of stuff, and he's kind of pricey, but let's say 17% according to the bat is what we're seeing as far as Ohtani on DK. I should mention the FanDuel ownership stuff. I'll take a peek at that in a second. And on DraftKings, according to our Plate IQ stuff, 8.5%. We got Cease at 40% there and Gilbert at 48%. That's a bit of a discrepancy. As far as FanDuel, obviously FanDuel, the numbers are going to be lower. You're only rostering one pitcher, only 100 percentage points to go around. Let's talk about, let's see. We have Cease number 1 at 8.9K. You're getting a bit of a discount when you compare him to Gilbert. Gilbert's 9.8, almost 1K more expensive. Gilbert getting 25%, Ohtani 12%, Cease 27%. We didn't mention Stroman, by the way. Stroman baseballs. He's fine. On FanDuel, a little tricky to get a 10.5. You can do it. Washington's terrible. Not a great, strikeout guy. Pretty good ground ball guy. I kind of sort of somewhat safe if you want to use that word. But what's his ceiling? I don't know. I'm sure you have some Stroman. Where are you at Stroman as far as the field on DK? I think he's 9-1 over there.
So I got about 20% Stroman today. If the field's going to be getting about 15-ish% of him, I'll be a little bit over that, but nothing too crazy. He Stroman, Varland, and Sears are my three guys kind of at that 20% range.
Eric says he loves Boston. Manoah sucks, and I want to attack him. Okay, sure, you can do that. Favorite stacks today, we talked about the Coors Field, and if you look at our consensus rankings, not surprisingly, it's Milwaukee and Colorado. Beyond that, consensus-wise, Baltimore, Toronto, Chicago, Seattle. Pretty tight, right? Myself, Tim, Head Chopper, and Mr. Tuttle, we all ranked our favorite 5, and only 6 teams got mentioned. So that seems to be kind of like where it gets cut off. Milwaukee, Colorado, Baltimore, Toronto, Chicago, Seattle. Are you at all concerned about the weather in Fenway as far as hitting? It feels like it's subduing a little bit. Doesn't mean you can't roster anybody. The total's still pretty high. That Toronto offense is really good. Just I have a slight hit, and I'm not running away from it. Again, I'm open to whatever, but I guess you don't care, right? You're just going to play Toronto, and that's that.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't bother me all that much. The one thing that I find pretty terrifying right now is the amount of Chicago Cubs I have in my lineups going up against this 4K pitcher that's not very good. I like the potential upside here, but currently the Chicago Cubs are my 3rd highest owned stack, and I don't think I want that to be the case.
Why is that terrifying? I think the Cubs have actually been really good this year offensively. I think they're like top 5 in a lot of the main categories. They have a nice ballpark to hit in. Who knows what Deservin is? He's not supposed to be anything special. I know that some of the names on the Chicago side are not that appealing, but you probably have the best second baseman. I saw somebody asking, like, who do you play at second base tonight? We don't do the position stuff. Like, that's when the crunch time crew comes in and they'll go around the horn. But short slate second base is pretty rough. It's kind of an overspend, but like Nico Horner is pretty interesting. Leading off on the road here, decent shot those 5 ABs.
Second base is a really gross position today too.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like second, you have the best second baseman theoretically. Maybe it's Polanco, I don't know, or Torres, or Gorman. I don't feel great about. I don't feel great about any of this stuff. It's just second's pretty bad. And the Cubs lineup is all right. Again, I don't want to go on my tangents. I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do and just flip out when I see Patrick Wisdom hitting 8th behind Eric Hosmer. But, I mean, I was tweeting about this earlier today. Patrick Wisdom on the season is nobody has more home runs than him. He's got the biggest ISO in all of baseball. 2nd in slug, 99th percentile when it comes to hard hit percentage, 98th percentile when it comes to barrel percentage, 96th percentile when it comes to average exit velocity. Whatever. But he'll just hit a homer in the 2nd inning instead of the 1st inning, I suppose. Maybe the 3rd, depending on how good or bad that Chicago lineup starts off. But I kind of like that stand you're taking. It's interesting that you don't love it, but
Well, it's not. I don't hate it. It's just like 3rd highest owned stack is what worries me a little bit. But then when I go and look at this from a position by position kind of thing, okay, yeah, all of a sudden it makes sense. Like if I look at first base, well, I'm not actually getting too many guys from Chicago at first base. I'm getting 5% Hosmer, 5% Mancini. If I look at second base, well, yeah, I probably do want about 10, 15% Horner. I probably do want about 15% Wisdom. I probably do want about 15-20% Swanson and Bellinger. So I guess, yeah, it makes sense.
All right.
It's just weird to see that list of like, and now this is like when you in lineup HQ, after you do the stack summary, it sorts it right off the bat by teams used in 4-hitter plus stacks. So 5-hitter stacks and 4-hitter stacks. And somebody did ask in the YouTube chat, what do you think about Colorado today? Ownership aside, like who's going to smash on Colorado? What do you think? Interestingly enough, I don't really like the Colorado full stack. Why? Because Colorado's not very good. So the Rockies are actually my 6th highest owned full stack today, but they're my number 1 3-hitter stack, and they're my number 1 2-hitter stack. I'm getting to a lot of CJ Cron. I'm getting to a lot of Chris Bryant, and then I'm getting some Diaz, some Blackmon, some McMahon, etc. But I'm really not getting to that many Rockies outside of the ton of Chris Bryant and CJ Cron that I'm getting to.
A lot of people that I respect, I hear them say, I'm either all in on Colorado or I'm all out in Colorado. And I never understood that approach. It's like you say, like, why can't we just have a one-off or just 2 players? Like, you can have a 4-2-2 and have 2 players, 2 guys on Colorado, 4 guys on Seattle, and 2 guys on the Cubs. I just never understood like the thought process of, well, you got to be all in or all out. Like, why? And I'm just happy to hear you say that, because I feel like I'm on an island when it comes to that sometimes. It's like, why do I have to choose? I can just I can dabble here and dabble there, and I can load it up here and get none there. It's just, I never understood that approach, but okay, fair enough. James has a question in chat. Chicago, 3rd baseman. Oh, yeah, look at that. Didn't even realize both Chicago third. We got the Patty or the Burger. I'm seeing what you're doing there. You like Patty the Brain Wisdom or Burger for the White Sox as far as 3rd base? Or they're just like, they thought it was a fun question to ask because, yeah. You have a preference amongst those 2?
That's wisdom among those 2.
Travis says that Bellinger's going to crack one today. He might be how far away from the second Spidey bomb? I feel like he could be a Spidey bomb candidate. I'm not trying to direct Spidey in any way, but I like Bellinger as well. That nice upgrade as far as the ballpark. Of course, you got the platoon advantage as well. Yeah, Bellinger, I assume, is hitting your Cubby stacks a fair bit. Where are we at as far as
today?
There you go. Where are we at as far as
88 likes all the way up to 92 now. That just bumped up real quick. So we're 8 likes away from the second Spidey Bum. I got 4 prepped. So let's bump it up here. Let's get these likes up. I want to get us to at least 150 so that we can drop these Spidey Bums.
Give me your take as far as Baltimore in general against Greinke, who's he's going to give up contact.
I like Baltimore. It does full stacking Baltimore does worry me a little bit, just because Greinke's probably going to give up a home run or 2, but doesn't often just get absolutely lit up. And so I like Baltimore today. They are my 5th highest owned stack. So they're not right at the top of my board, but they're kind of in my tier 2.
We have Stowers in the Baltimore lineup. I know he played a fair bit last year. And I feel like he was a prospect at one point, 25-year-olds now. Did somebody get hurt for Baltimore that I missed, or why is he all of a sudden appearing? Not sure, but he's batting 5th tonight for Baltimore. Mullins back up at a 1 spot since it's a righty starting the game against him. Pretty pricey, so you're going to get him pretty low as far as the ownership. $6K against Greinke, but decent shot, those 5 ABs. Rushman, one of the best catchers, obviously. Mountcastle, he broke the slate yesterday. Santander had that, was it a 16-pitch at bat yesterday? That was kind of fun as well. It kind of falls off pretty quickly for Baltimore beyond that. With Mateo and Frazier, Urias, Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn revenge game, right? Former Kansas City Royal. Very angry about what the Royals did him wrong, I'm sure. Are you playing Cardinals at all? Or just, it's Ohtani and that's that? You're just going to stay away. Check back tomorrow.
I think I have like 2 or 3 Cardinals stacks in 150 lineups. Just in case we get wild Ohtani.
That's who was missing. Austin Hayes from that Baltimore lineup. They want to know about the tattoo. And when is the tattoo going to happen, TJ? You got to get that Spidey tattoo one of these days. I know you made an effort to get it, but apparently there's not a tattoo parlor available or reputable in the Saskatoon.
There are. I
area.
just don't. I'm not aware of them. Like I've tried to do some research, and my close friends didn't come back to me with anything. And so, next big GPP win, I'll prioritize it above anything else. I was super hyped to do that. No problem, nice and easy. When I was on my big NFL heater last year, but then I bought a house, and that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, at these conventions you go to, there's got to be. Is there like a tattoo person there? Like
there actually was. I noticed that in Calgary when I was there this past weekend. There were tattoo people doing stuff on the spot, and I was thinking like, wow, that would be perfect. It's just I was doing press for the expo, and so I just didn't have time. Yeah,
Dre and Kirkwood are supposed to pay for this. Is that not the deal? Is that not happening?
It's true.
All right.
I guess so. Yeah, it wouldn't really affect the GPP then. That's a good point.
Bobby Gums in chat. He wants to know if you're a Ninja Turtle guy. And the follow-up question: Donatello, Michelangelo, Leonardo, the other one.
Nothing against the Ninja Turtles, but they weren't my bag personally.
Oh, look at you!
I kind of missed Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers a little bit, and was just kind of like straight into either like the Pokemon side of things or like the superhero side of things.
Kirkwood hanging out in chat says the offer is expired, so you're on your own now. You got to talk to Dre, but apparently, was Raphael the guy I missed? Did I miss Raphael? Yeah, I couldn't think of the fourth person. Yeah, my bad. Let's see what else is going on here in chat that they're discussing. Do you want to play the stat game? You want to do that? We can play the stat game.
We have over 100 likes, so it's time for Spidey Bomb number 2. Let's do that first. We got 37 likes away from the third one. Let's give this out because, I mean, we already got the Christian Walker double dong this morning. We want to be giving out some more homers. So let's bump this up to 150 likes. We got a fun one for this one, Dean, because we got somebody who is plus 830 on FanDuel today. Those odds are double what we currently have him projected. We got this guy projected over on Scores and Odds at plus 395 to hit a home run. And this is one of the reasons why I don't have any Kyle Gibson today, because I don't mind taking a few Kansas City Royals against him. And Vinny P is going to be knocking one out of the park.
That's a pretty good number. I know Gibson's reverse splitsy, but that's still a really, really big number. Good to see Perez back in the game. He left yesterday's game with can't remember what the injury was, but he's back in the lineup today for KC. What is it? What's Wednesday?
Gibson's not really a reverse splitsy guy, is he? He's given up this year so far 230 ISO to lefties, only 120 to righties, and then last year, and then if you add last year's data in, it was 180 to lefties and 150 to righties.
Well, take it up with Carty, because Carty, that this is I use my cheat code as far as reverse splitsy, not reverse splitsy, that kind of thing, or I use it like to confirm. If you look at his pitcher list, he says like large reverse, neutral, small split, big split, that kind of thing. And he's got Gibson labeled as a reverse split. So
he gets hit harder by right-handed bats, but he strikes out a lot less left-handed bats.
Yeah, it's weird. Like sometimes, there's like pluses and minuses, and I don't know how to work that. Like sometimes some guys are like that, right? Where there's the highs are better and the lows are worse also, right? So it's kind of tricky to see how to approach that. Andre hanging out in chat says, "Don't worry, he did not put a clock on you." Andre says he's still got you. So I don't. He's in for half.
Dre's my guy.
He's in for half. You're saying Kirkwood's not your guy in an indirect way. That's what I'm hearing, at least.
There's nobody at this company that's not my guy. Everybody at this company is my guy, or just my person. Like Christy's my guy, or just my person. That it's a gender neutral term. But Dre's like really my guy.
Do you want to do the power rankings? Go 1 through 5. Really your guy? 5. Kind of sort of somewhat your guy.
There's nobody. Yeah, I'm not going to power rank, but I'll say out of all the people at RotoGrinders, the people I talk to the most on a day-to-day basis are Dre and Luch.
Yeah, well, if you would answer my DMs, we would talk a little bit more. But unfortunately, it's a one-way street. Eventually, I can only take so much rejection, TJ. But let's not make this uncomfortable. We do have some.
I'm still hurt over the Whit Merrifield Stephen Kwan conversation.
Well, that's fair, I suppose. I was very mean. I did apologize. We have some pitchers today that have positive umpires. Some of the people like that. I like that. It's just I don't need it, but I like it. We have 2 extreme pitcher umpires for Kyle Gibson, for Louis Varland, Dylan Cease, and Zach Greinke. All right. Merrifield did me dirty last night, according to Derek. There you go. Merrifield's in the doghouse. How's Mauricio Dubon working out for Houston, batting leadoff? Oh, terribly? Yeah, who could have seen that coming? The chat gave me a hard time. He's got 2 hits the other day, and all of a sudden that was like a victory lap. That Mauricio Dubon is the next coming of Ricky Henderson or something like that. Spoiler alert, he's not. Do we think J-Rod's playing tonight? I really think that matters, like, if not just for the Seattle stack, but for Sears to some degree as well. We're not going to know that, right? I feel like we're not going to know that at least at some point into the slate. And I guess there's a chance he's in it and he jumps out like we saw the other night. I think it's somewhat significant for the Seattle stack if Rodriguez doesn't go. Are you currently is he in your lineups right now? And I guess you'll shuffle it up if he's not?
Yeah, he's in my pool, but it's not somebody that's going to make a major difference in what I'm doing regardless. I'm not going to get more or less Sears if he's in or out of the lineup, I don't think. And as of right now, I only have him in 3%. Oof.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be, like most people might be thinking the same thing. He's not playing if you're building lineups by hand. He probably has a tag next to him, I assume, in the sites where it says, doubtful or questionable or whatever. Yeah, I mean, if you can get him super low owned and in a pretty good spot, the ballpark stinks, but still. Against the worst team in baseball as far as yielding runs. I think Rodriguez is kind of sort of somewhat interesting in tournaments. If you're making one lineup tonight, are you in the 121 tonight?
Yes.
Single entry? Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'm in there as well. Well, I'll see you there. I have no idea what I'm making in it. I really don't know. I don't have clarity on this. Wide open.
Well, as of right now, I got JP Sears in it.
I can tell you there's a really good chance JP Sears is not going to be my pitcher in that single entry. I don't think I'm playing Sears. Unlikely. Unless I'm pivoting late and whatever. But Anthony wants to know if you played one lineup tonight, single entry, so let's say the 121, who would you pick? Now, I don't know if they're asking for stack, pitchers. Now, obviously, don't give out the full lineup. But what's your plan of attack in single entry tonight?
Toronto with a mini stack of to be determined with Gilbert and a cheap pitcher is kind of how I'm looking to go about things.
Does it have to be 5? Or you don't. If 5 works out organically, so be it. But you're okay going 4-4 or something like that.
Yeah, I am if the players I like in a lineup is better in the 4-4. As it stands right now, I'll just check what mine is. I think it's a 4. It's a 5-2 right now. No, it's 5-3.
I love that Toronto side. Again, I wish the ballpark was a little bit better, but I'm not going to let it chase me away. Pavetta gives up home runs. He's a reverse split righty, which, by the way, if you're Boston, maybe don't sign reverse split righties that give up power. Just, with the monster lurking out there and in left field, probably a bad idea. Probably doesn't end well.
And that's with Toronto and the Yankees in your division with you, not the smartest.
It's a weird decision, but okay. Bold strategy, Cotton. By the way, you actually did. This is speaking of sliding to my DMs. When you do occasionally slide to my DMs, you mentioned to me that there's going to be a sequel to Dodgeball, which I don't know who's clamoring for that, but I'm in. I'll watch it.
I just honestly that felt like something you'd be happy about.
Yeah, the first one's It's a fun movie. We were talking late 90s comedies or aughts. Comedies pre-show, we were talking about Zoolander. So, that's sort of in the same.
Dodgeball's got to be one of the most quotable comedies of all time.
Do you know what the 5 Ds of Dodgeball are?
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
There you go. Look at you showing off. I don't know what it's going to be about, but Average Joe's Gym is going to be, 20 years later, whatever it is. But I'll watch it for sure. I don't know if I'm leaving the house. I'm not sure if I'm putting pants on, but we'll fire it up on the Netflix.
I'm not going to it in the theater, but I'll watch it pretty much immediately when it comes out on streaming, probably.
Sure. Patches O'Houlihan.
R.I.P.
He would have. Yeah, that's the way he wanted to go, though. Spoiler alert. 1,000 pounds of irony. Okay,
No,
we'll
I
stop
meant
quoting.
like R.I.P. to Rip Torn.
Oh, I was
The
thinking the
actor.
character Patches.
That too, but yeah, Rip Torn, the actor who played Patches O'Houlihan, died 4 years ago.
Yeah, do we still say? I mean, sure, R.I.P. But like, do we have to keep?
Well, I mean, just because we're talking about Patches O'Houlihan specifically.
Frederick says Mel Brooks films and Naked Gun are most quotable movies. I as a child, I would say the movie I watched more than maybe anything else, because I had a thing called a VCR when I was a kid. You've probably seen them in museums or books or on the interwebs, and we had Naked Gun on VHS, and I watched that probably like 50 times as a child. So yes, I know the Naked Gun quite well. You're aware of the Naked Gun Police Squad, or no? Maybe not so much. Before your time.
But I'm aware of it, but definitely doesn't rank in my most quotable movies as they came out before I was born.
What was the movie that Grant was talking about the other day on Twitter about some skateboarding movie on Disney? Do you know what he was talking about? Were you in that conversation?
No, I wasn't part of that.
Okay. I was like, I didn't watch Disney. Didn't know the movie he was talking about. I could never. He's telling me like, you must have loved this. I'm like, no clue. Never heard of it. All right. Yeah, the chat's having a good time with movie quotes now. This is the things we do. We have 10 minutes until crunch time comes in. Crunch time. Brink. Yeah, it's called Brink with an exclamation point. It's a skateboarding movie like that was on the Disney Channel. And that's all I know.
They just did a on one of the podcasts on the Agents of Fandom podcast network called Fandom Academy. They just did a Disney movie draft with five people, and so I'll have to check if Brink made the cut.
Huh. Best Disney movies? That's what you're saying?
Sorry, not best Disney movies, best Disney Channel movies.
Oh, I would be terrible at that. Yeah. What's like the 1-1 in that draft?
I don't know, like a High School Musical or a Camp Rock or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Now we're just throwing out movies. Apparently, Charlie Blackmon, BVP played the day 12 for 24 against Eric Lauer. Like he's not what he once was though. And I think Lauer's got a pretty big split. So, I mean, the power for Charlie Blackmon's kind of subdued, I would say. But I guess you can play him. I wonder how many homers he actually hit there. But, yeah, I mean, he's leading off, and he's in Coors Field, so sure he's playable. But, you know, when was the last time Charlie Blackmon broke a slate? I feel like it's been like at least a year. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, True Romance. That is nothing. That's a great movie, but I don't know how that comes up in the context of this conversation. Lords of Dogtown was a skateboarding documentary, I believe, Alex, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Yeah. The chat's been completely derailed. Pee-wee's Big Adventure? What is happening in the chat? No, there's no baseball questions at this point. Feel free to fire them off if you want to, or we can talk shenanigans for the next 10 minutes till we yield to crunch time. Crunch time coming in 10 minutes. You get Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. You get Derek Carty, and you have chief meteorologist Kevin Roth taking y'all straight up to lock. Let's play the stack game. Stack them up. Milwaukee, 1 through 5. All the context. Everything understood, obviously. You know they're going to be popular. Although we don't have a lineup just yet, right? What's holding up this Milwaukee lineup? It's 2.5 hours till first pitch. Is there somebody dinged on Milwaukee? Or they're just like taking a nap?
I think they're just taking their time. Like, as far as I know, we're not waiting on anybody specifically who's hurt or anything like that. We just got a Roth tweet. You can see some of those near stationary showers popping up all around Yankee Stadium. At this point, I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping nothing too heavy ends up over the ballpark. We'll update if I see something.
There, give me a number on Milwaukee, 1 through 5. 5, you love it. 5 is like it's Andre. 1, it's maybe like me or Kirkwood.
Come on, you and Kirkwood wouldn't be a 1. You and Kirkwood are a 4, and Andre's a 5.
I'm just poking the bear and having fun. But go ahead. Where would you put Milwaukee?
I guess 5, or the context of this slate.
Yeah, and that's even including ownership. You're going to be over the field on them.
4. Let's go 4.
Yeah. Let's talk about Baltimore. Where would you put Baltimore?
3.5.
There you go. Yeah, the decimals play, obviously. Decimals play for the record. Best baseball movie of all time. What do you got for me?
This is not the answer to the best. I'm not educated enough to have a good objective answer, but I mean, maybe this is the best. I don't know, but I would say my favorite is definitely 42.
Yeah, your
with
favorite.
With Moneyball being my second favorite.
I would have Moneyball number 1, but 42 obviously spectacular as well. I made a list somewhere. I'm trying to pull it up here on the fly, and I know both those made my list.
Baseball movies are tough to rank though, because like you have the Moneyballs and the 42s, which are serious. Dre just brought up Mr. 3000. I thought that was a funny movie too. But then you got things like
R.I.P. Bernie Mac. R.I.P. Bernie Mac.
R.I.P. Bernie Mac. R.I.P. Bernie Mac. 100%. Then you got things like Mr. 3000 and Benchwarmers. You got Sandlot. You got Angels in the Outfield. There's so many totally different types of baseball movies. They're pretty tough to rank.
Yeah, Field of Dreams.
What's your favorite basketball movie?
What is the best basketball movie? I bet I made a list in this. I have a better thought out answer, but let me think about it.
I figured you were a White Man Can't Jump guy.
Fine. They're remaking that as well too, which I'll watch, but probably watch with my arms crossed and be upset about it. But
yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. But I'm going to be doing like press conferences and interviews for it, so hopefully it's good.
I like He Got Game, the Ray Allen, Spike Lee. Hustle was good. The Adam Sandler movie was pretty good.
It just came out recently. Space Jam's a good plug.
Never seen it.
It's
I know what it is. I don't need a
Coach Carter for me. It's Coach Carter for me.
Oh,
Coach Carter is a truly phenomenal movie.
So basketball?
Great film. Quality cinema.
I don't know if this is a basketball movie, but Finding Forrester. Have you seen Finding Forrester? It's not. There's some basketball in it. I don't know if I'd call it a basketball movie. Hoop Dreams, if you have the time, 3-hour documentary. It's an old movie, but it's really, really worth watching. And of course, Teen Wolf. I had that one. Yeah, Teen Wolf's a ridiculous movie. But all right,
Teen
let's see,
what?
the chat should be chiming. Yeah, Teen Wolf with the Michael J. Fox.
Teen Wolf. Okay.
No idea.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Do I say wolf?
No,
weird?
I know. You said it without the L, like it was just a dog saying woof. Teen Wolf.
What is Above the Rim of Tupac? I've seen that many, many years ago. But Celtics Pride
bases clearing double for Soto. That should be good for the Padres stacks.
Airbud, by the way, a good nomination in chat. Airbud, the greatest multi-sport athlete of all time. He played baseball in a movie called Airbud Seventh Inning Fetch. He played volleyball in a movie called Airbud Spike Back. I can't run down his entire resume, but Airbud, one of the greatest athletes of our time, for sure. He's like the Bo Jackson of dogs. The Air Up There. Oh, the Air Up There. Yeah, starring Kevin Bacon. There you go. All right. There's some good basketball movies. I feel like I missed a few, but it takes a second. Do we have new lineups coming in? I'm giving a refresh here on the old Twitter. I think we got nothing, right? Nope. Last lineup we got was the A's, which is about an hour ago. We're still waiting for Seattle. That's probably because of J-Rod. We're still waiting for Milwaukee. That's probably because of a nap. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but expect a pile of righties against Kyle Freeland. Somebody just joined the show. They're a little bit, they want to watch Crunch Time for 5 minutes. They haven't heard a word yet to say about pitching. Give me a minute summary as far as pitchers, how you're attacking pitching today.
So Logan Gilbert, I think, is good chalk. He is the only pitcher that I'm going to be heavily invested in today. Rodriguez is in the lineup. That lineup just came out. Rodriguez, France, Kalinic, Suarez, Hernandez, Murphy, Pollock, Crawford, Caballero. So I think that's exactly what we projected. Gilbert, I have in over half of my lineups today. I'm over the field on Ohtani. I got him in almost 30% of my lineups today. And then from there, it's just guys that I'm looking to spread out. So the cheap options like Sears, Varland, and Irvin, and Schmidt. And then the mid-tier to expensive ones like Stroman, Cease as well. And then the only guys I'm getting in less than 10% of my lineups, but are still in my pool, are Manoah, Michaelis, and Bieber.
All right. I like those Seattle righties, by the way. I'm definitely going to have a Seattle stack on Sears. And Sears giving up, 14 homers, 15 homers. All of his homers, I believe, have been against righties this year. So Seattle's – I think I've talked myself on the Seattle stack. I've been kind of wishy-washy all shows for my favorite stuff, and maybe I'll play some Seattle in single entry. I think they're going to be kind of sort of somewhat low-owned. Hopefully we don't see a late scratch as far as J-Rod. Mr. Richard wants to know about Louis.
If you're making a Seattle stack, we won't be seeing each other in the 121 because one of us will be near the top, the other one will be near the bottom.
Louis Varland on DK. Mr. Richards, your thoughts as far as Louis Varland? I know he's in your pool. How much are you prioritizing Varland?
About the exact same as I'm prioritizing JP Sears. They're cheap and they have strikeout upside, so they're going to be getting into my lineups. Probably more than the field has them, but not someone I'm going crazy with.
Big Hurt wants to know your favorite low-owned pitcher on DraftKings. So basically not Cease and not Gilbert. If you can trust our ownership, we're saying 12% for Ohtani. That's what the bat is saying. What is our plate IQ? We're saying, 12 to 13%. That will be my answer. I think that qualifies as low-owned. I think so. What would be your answer as far as favorite low-owned pitcher on FanDuel?
Yeah, it'd be Ohtani for me too.
Yeah, I mean, beyond that, everybody else is in single digits. Ohtani's the third most heavily owned, but Gilbert and Cease are 1 or 2K cheaper. They're getting 2 or 3X more as far as ownership. Aaron wants to know your favorite team for 5-man stacks on FanDuel. Well, that's not possible. Okay, yeah, 4-man. Okay, he corrected himself. So your favorite 4-man stack on FanDuel. Obviously, you can't get 5-man stacks on FanDuel.
Toronto.
Yes. Spidey Bombs, BALMS. I'm not sure if that was a typo or where are we at as far as Spidey Bombs? How many more do we need to knock out one more for the people? How many likes?
15 more likes for Spidey Bomb number 3. We got over 400 people watching. That should be no problem. So slide your finger over, hit that like button. YouTube's been doing this weird thing lately where sometimes it doesn't show up when you first enter the show. So you got to refresh and then the like tab pops up. So make sure you do that. Hit that like button. And we got our 3rd Spidey Bomb coming at 150 likes. We're only 15 away.
Did we get a Milwaukee lineup? I know my notification thing was dinging, but that was something else. Never mind. I thought that that's what that was. But, okay. I'm not sure why we're talking about Christian Leitner there in chat. Why is J-Rod not showing up in lineup HQ? I'm sure that's going to fix itself soon enough. So just be a little bit patient. Did we not have him in the lineup? I would imagine that's going to fix and somebody's on top of it. And that game's not until later. And you can manually put him in for the record if you absolutely need it right this second. But I assume it's going to correct. And I'm seeing him. It is kind of strange. He's not showing up on our lineups page. Oh, there he is now. Just hit the refresh button. And he is there. Aaron says, bold call here from Aaron. The Brewers are going to score less than 2 runs. That means 1, right? Less than 2 is 1. So the Brewers are not scoring more than 1 run tonight because the whole team is trash versus lefties. There you go. I'm not going to play Yelich, I don't think. I don't like him in general. And left on left here against Freeland, and I assume he's going to be popular. Where are you at as far as Yelich? You talk about your Brewer stacks, and we're expecting these guys that have, pinch hit risk at some point later in the game, like Brousseau. We're expecting him in there. Luke Voit, he's another one, which I'm wishy-washy on because Luke Voit has been, terrible. But once upon a time, not that long ago, he had a ton of power. He was a quote-unquote lefty masher. But if you look at his recent stuff, dating back to last year, the ISOs has not been there. And I think he's going to be reasonably popular. How are you handling the Brewers individually?
I like them individually. I like them more as a full stack. Like the Brian Anderson, William Contreras, Willie Adames, those would probably be the 3 most likely that I'd use as a one-off. But I do like them more as a full stack, I think.
We do have the Crunch Time crew in. I see Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. We see Dave Potts. We see Derek Carty. No Milwaukee lineup just yet. Is there anything that is any reason why we wouldn't have one? Is there somebody that's questionable? Do you guys know, or they're just taking their time for whatever reason? Anything here, Carty or Dave? Is there anybody questionable?
I mean, it's not super late. I mean, they got almost 2.5 hours. for the game.
Yeah.
So I would assume it'll be up real soon.
Tyrone Taylor was back last
right.
night. Like he was coming off the IL, but I don't think there's anybody else.
What do we have here as far as pinch hit risk, Carty? Because we're expecting like Brousseau to crack the lineup. I've not looked at the bat just yet. I know that Colorado bullpen's pretty righty heavy. They got rid of Ty Bloch. He was DFA'd. Yeah, I guess you'll touch on that amongst other things, but I'm curious how you're baking that into your thoughts when it comes to Milwaukee. Anybody jumping out? Did you have a second to pull it up as far as potential pinch hit risk on the Brewers?
Brousseau's the highest, 45%. Owen Miller, 38% if he's in the lineup. Joey Weimer, 33%. So there's definitely some risk of that, probably more in the back half of the order, but that's something to keep in mind.
All right. TJ, you got anything else to the boys?
One more Spidey Bomb before we get out of here because the people did reach 150 likes. And so our final Spidey Bomb of the day, you can find him at plus... Why does this try? It goes so slow to load every time I try and look at odds. Plus 700 on Caesars, plus 630 on our sponsor FanDuel. Masataka Yoshida is going to be knocking one out of the park for Boston today.
There you go. What's the summary? Somebody just joined the show now. They want all the Spidey Bombs. Give it to them.
Bo Bichette, Vinny Pasquantino, and Masataka Yoshida.
What's the Wednesday thing? Like, Tortellini Tuesday, Fettuccine Friday. What's the gimmick for Vinny on Wednesday? What's a pasta that starts with W? Got anything? I got nothing.
Not
That means it's not homework. That's all I'm saying.
Wings and pasta Pasquantino.
I don't know what that is, but I will just play along and buy it. All right. Do appreciate y'all watching the first portion here of the Grinders Live show. We're now going to yield to the FanDuel sponsor, Crunch Time. You got Roth, you have Carty, you have Potts. Roth, take it away.
I'm still Googling if there's pastas that start with W. I got nothing for us here.
We'll wait, though.
Yeah, I was hoping for something good, but no, I got nothing. Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel, and it is the show where I am joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. It depends where I am, which way I point. Oh, we got one.
If you're saying we're two of the sharpest, it doesn't matter which way you point, Roth. We're both.
Sure. Sometimes we're up and down, though, and then he's pointing it.
Yeah, right. I was like this, and then it got moved this way. It gets confusing. But what is not confusing is that two of the sharpest minds in baseball are here to break down this slate. Cheese, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Had a little afternoon cheesecake, so obviously things are looking up.
To be clear, you do not like cheese, but you do like cheesecake.
This is how it works. Correct.
Okay.
Do not like cheese, like pizza, like cheesecake. It doesn't all make sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
that's
why
fine.
wouldn't you have just
good.
made your name Cheesecake is Good in the first place? Like
That would be a great name because it's completely true. And there's
I
really
think
no
they
room
let you
for
change it like one time in your career. You could request the change.
error. Good. Call my one time right here.
Yeah. We got Derek Carty as well. Carty, the creator, inventor, and CFO of the Bat and the Bat X Enterprises. What up, Carty? There you go.
Not much.
Feeling good about this slate? It's a smaller little thing, but not too small.
It doesn't even feel that small. We have some early games this afternoon. We have a few of these weird like 6:40 start times, but this feels like a slate that has stuff on it.
Okay, good. Well, I hope what I'm about to tell you does not cancel the stuff on it. There are two spots where I'm at least a little bit worried. One would be in New York. And to be clear, at this point, I think you're sticking with players in all of these games in all formats. But I just want to tell you, it is not safe in either of these games. The first of which being in New York. It's dry right now, but there's these light showers starting to go up around the ballpark, and the rain is not moving. It is not moving in New York. So if something goes up over the ballpark, you got to wait till it rains itself out, or they can play through it because it is mostly light. I'm not worried enough that I think you should do anything other than play your people. Cheese, do we want only hitters or hitters and pitchers?
It's mostly hitters, but the pitchers are viable and in the mix at some point.
Yeah, I just don't think you should fade it. Like, I'm worried that the worst case scenario could be very bad, but I just think the probability of that happening is low enough that you stick with it. And then the other game that I'm worried about, mostly because it's the last game on the slate, is the Oakland game, where if something goes wrong there,
this is now this is terrible because it's all alone as the last game, and the chalk pitcher and the chalk cheap pitcher are in that game.
Yeah.
So that's not going to make anyone thrilled.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. I don't foresee it as an in-game delay type scenario. I think more likely, if anything, you're talking about a late start and play. My real only concern there is, can the ballpark hold up to some heavier rains earlier in the night? Everything's kind of fading out by the time we get to game time. But
I'm not sure that Oakland is equipped to hold on to anything. I don't think they know what's going on out there.
No one on the West Coast is ready. They have no drainage. They are terrible at it.
But what you're telling me is, if the field is okay, at some point they'll be able to play.
Yes, and the rain isn't so heavy that I think the field's not going to be okay, and I think they're just going to play. And they might need a late start, and they might just be able to play on time. So that was a hell of a lot of dancing to tell you, I think you stick with everything that you're doing, and you kind of cross your fingers that those two spots don't get us.
It would be almost impossible to build without the pitchers in that game. So I think that's what I'm going to just do.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm on board with it. And I suppose I'll let you know if anything changes in Oakland, but
yeah, don't bother.
Yeah, it's not going to help much. So, and of course I'll be watching New York to see if like some showers start popping up in the next, 20, 30 minutes.
So is Washington in the clear?
I think Washington looks pretty good. And let me do a quick little radar check. It looks like everything's going to pass east of DC itself there. There's just some light spotty showers. They do goofy shit there all the time, but I think it's going to be the game's going to be fine either way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So really, we're talking about whether they're all going to play. Let's just play ball.
There you go. I hope so. Okay, that's it. That was enough time about weather that hopefully we do not care about. Let's talk about this slate, which we do care about. Cheese, you already referenced some of these pitchers in Oakland, but let's kind of go through an overall outlook and then dive into what we're doing.
I would say the overview is there's more hitting than pitching. I mean, obviously there's Coors Field with two lefties who will give up a bunch of power to righties. Then there's upside offense in like 4 or 5 other games. And then there's basically what seems like it should be weird Logan Gilbert chalk, but it's Logan Gilbert chalk. And then there's some cheap pitchers that have some upside with some questions, or a spend way up to Ohtani in a tough matchup. All of this to say that I think we have clear chalk in the Brewers-Rockies game and Logan Gilbert. And past that, it's kind of all over the place. But I see enough to like with the bats that I'm willing not to try to be overboard on the Coors game.
Okay, very good. Carty, is there anything you want to add as a general outlook, or do you feel okay that we just dive into pitchers here?
I'm cool to just dive in.
Okay, let's do it. Carty, do you want to lead us off here in the pitcher game?
Yeah, so there's kind of like a top 3 tonight. It's Dylan Cease, it's Shohei Ohtani, and it's Logan Gilbert. Gilbert's the one on DraftKings that I think you're definitely playing because he's like, 1 to 2K cheaper than both Cease and Ohtani, and they all project very, very similarly. He's going to be massive chalk, I think, in GPPs. So they all project the same. The only difference is Gilbert has a better matchup because he's in Oakland against Oakland, and Oakland's terrible, and he's cheaper. But I would play the ownership game. I'd be heavier on, it looks like Ohtani of the 3 is going to be the lowest owned of them. So I would probably be heavier on Ohtani in GPPs, but in cash, you're definitely playing Gilbert. I think you probably pair him with Cease in cash, who is like 1K cheaper than Ohtani. There are cheaper guys if you want to get weird. We'll talk about them in a minute, but I think it's probably too weird for cash. Over on FanDuel, Cease is actually the cheapest one of the 3. He's about 1K cheaper than Gilbert. He's like more than 2K cheaper than Ohtani. And so I think on FanDuel, you probably just play Cease because, again, these guys all project basically the same. So just play the salary game with it. Again, on FanDuel, Ohtani is the one that looks like he's going to be the lowest owned, probably because he's the most expensive and he has the toughest matchup. But he's Ohtani. He's fantastic. And St. Louis has this guy named Nolan Arenado that you might know is not a very good baseball player. So it actually is kind of a sneaky good matchup for Ohtani. Then in terms of like after our top three guys, you do have some like cheap weird stuff that she's kind of alluded to. Like you have JP Sears, you have Clark Schmidt, you have Louis Varland. Like I'm fine if you want to take shots on guys like that. And then you kind of have the guys that are kind of in the same price tier as the top guys, but aren't as good as them. You have Shane Bieber and you have Marcus Stroman. They're going to come in quite a bit lower owned if you just want to take shots on them because they're going to be lower owned and they're at least good pitchers, Bieber especially. Go right ahead and do that.
Okay. Arenado catching strays in the pitcher segment was not something I expected there, but here we are. Cheese, let's talk about what we're doing here as far as, pitcher wise. And I do want to start, of course, on our sponsor site, Fanduel, the read of which I will get to you shortly. But in the meantime, go for it.
Okay. On FanDuel, I think the biggest question is with Dylan Cease. I don't trust Dylan Cease one teeny tiny iota for anything. Like, essentially, Ohtani and Cease have the same upside, which is higher than Logan Gilbert's upside. But Dylan Cease is like the right-handed Blake Snell in that you have no idea which guy is showing up. Like, sometimes he can strike out everybody. Like last year, he struck out everybody. This year, he came out and struck out everybody, and then he can't find the strike zone at all for 3 weeks. And then he's thrown 4 innings at a time because he takes 900 pitches to go through an inning.
Right.
But sometimes he's amazing. Like, I don't know. So he really is in that Blake Snell territory for me where I'm not going to try to predict what he's going to do because I don't know. I just know that personally I would not play him in cash.
Okay.
I would just get up to Gilbert for the other $900. But essentially Ohtani, Cease, and Gilbert are the pitching pool because you don't really need a cheap pitcher on FanDuel. I'm fine with some JP Sears at 6,800, but you can't really even spend that salary. So basically, no.
Okay, well then let's go to DK and we'll kind of run through what we're doing where you need to, and I want your tournament takes as well.
Yeah, so DK, it's much more interesting to use one of these cheap guys. I like Sears and Varland. Clark Schmidt you can put in there. I would rather not pick on Cleveland if I don't have to, and I don't have to because of Sears and Varland. Really, Miles Michaelis is in there too. Sure, he's fine, but he's kind of last among those, and I don't need 4 6K pitchers. I would play Marcus Stroman ahead of Shane Bieber, although they're about the same guy, around 9K. And as much as possible, I want Ohtani and Gilbert. I don't think Ohtani is overpriced for the matchup, but he's Ohtani, and I like him better than Cease. But I have all these guys because nothing's quite perfect tonight.
Okay,
even Gilbert's not perfect because he rarely gets more than like 85, 90 pitches, and he kind of had a little shoulder thing before the last start and missed a couple days, and he's probably fine. I think he is fine, but this is not a super upside guy, at least with pitch count and innings.
Okay, and when you say you're getting as much Gilbert and Ohtani as you can, do you mean together? Can you
Exactly.
together?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Okay, good. Well, then we're going to need some cheapies, I assume, as we go through the bats. And we will do that in just a second. First, though, worth noting, this show is free thanks to our sponsor, FanDuel. Make sure you hit that thumbs up for us. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply. Always great things going on our sponsor site, FanDuel. Speaking of which, let's kick it over, talk a little bit of some stacks, Cheese, and walk me through what we're stacking over on FanDuel and DK as well.
So we've got the obvious Coors Field game. Both teams around a team total of 6. I don't just love either full stack. I mean, of course, I like them, but I kind of prefer to just play a couple right-handed power bats here and there. And for me, the Blue Jays are the top stack. I will take them straight up over Coors. I like the Red Sox a good bit. I like the Cubs a good bit. And I like the Orioles and the Royals a good bit. So I'm willing to be underweight on Coors stacks, but certainly, obviously, that's going to be the top projected on both sides.
Are you saying that you think the Blue Jays are a better play because they'll be lower owned than Coors, or you think the Blue Jays
score more
are just
runs than Coors? Just because they're a better team. Like, I'd rather play a better team than a worse team in Coors.
Carty disagrees.
I mean, I disagree. It's just blatantly false. Like, Coors Field is Coors Field. Even bad teams in Coors Field are still almost always going to be the best from a mathematical standpoint, especially when they're against two, not good pitchers. They're two lefties. They're both facing a ton of righties. I mean, it's a hitter's umpire. Like, I like the Blue Jays as a good way to get off of Coors. But I don't see them as better.
Okay. So who are you?
Yeah.
Obviously the two teams in Coors.
Yeah. And it looks like the Blue Jays are kind of projected for similar ownership to the Rockies anyway. So I would rather just have the Rockies personally. In terms of other stuff, though, I think the Mariners on both sites are a little bit too cheap, and they project basically as the next best team. After that, it's kind of a big step down, and then there's like a clump of teams, but the Mariners would be the one that I would look at.
Okay. TJ pointing out, he says, how can, and I quote, I believe Toronto will score more runs, be, as Carty said, blatantly false. It is an opinion.
Carty doesn't understand how words work. It's okay.
I'm not sure that can be blatantly false.
I'm more of a numbers guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in the context I said it made sense, but I could be totally wrong.
No, we'll allow it. Dean coming in with a weather question already, so we'll get to that about the hitting weather in Boston. I know it's very cold. He mentions Weather Edge does not love it.
Yeah, your Weather Edge is like very down on it.
Really against it. You know what? Let's take a second then, because I've already got it pretty close to pulled up. So give me about 10 more seconds and we'll see. Weather Edge, for those of you who do not know, takes every game that's ever been played in similar weather at that particular ballpark. In this case, we're talking Boston, and shows you what has happened in those games. So I am scrolling down. It's a 74 game sample size. We've had 74 similar weather games, a temperature at about 50 degrees, winds gently blowing in from center. Home runs have decreased 31%. Total runs have decreased 17% in those games. And yeah, I mean, first off, you can't argue it because that's actually what has happened in those games. It's a good sample size, and I agree. The weather sucks for hitting there. Carty, thoughts?
Oh, completely agree. I'm looking over the weather, and part of the reason I think the Coors thing, Coors has the best hitting weather of the night. It's 75 degrees there. I mean, the Blue Jays are in like 50 degree temperatures. So just for what it's worth, I think the Rockies are the move.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. With that, I think we dive right in. We go a little position by position. And Cheese, you can lead us off with a little catcher talk, sir.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
So
if I'm doing the Ohtani Gilbert thing, or even Cease Gilbert, then I'm saving at catcher. If you're playing one of the cheap pitchers, it's probably to play Contreras or Diaz or Rutschman or Perez at catcher. I love all four of those guys. But Alejandro Kirk, 3,300 is my favorite cheapie, obviously. And even the all-powerful bat of math cannot be argued with has Kirk as the top points per dollar play over the Coors guys. So we cannot argue that Kirk is a better play, obviously.
Here's the thing, though. Who would argue with math? Like, why would anyone argue with math? Yeah.
Right. So Kirk is a better play than Contreras. We all agree.
There you
have it.
Car's like, God damn it, I want to back myself into a corner.
If we're talking point per dollar, sure. But Contreras is very
we are. Kirk is a better play than Contreras. Done. Thank you.
Points matter.
Math.
Well, I mean, Contreras projects for 11 points and Kirk projects for under 8.
Let me check. Hold on. Let me check the math. I checked the math again. So Kirk is the top play, and then Contreras would be next.
I don't know if Dave understands, like, what numbers are bigger than other numbers, but 11 is bigger than 8.
Jesus. Okay, Carty,
I know you're not a math guy. You hand build cheese, but I mean the math is the math. 11 is bigger than 8.
Yeah, the math is the math of prices as well. And for one guy,
so
you got to pay up. And
when you actually play DFS, you have a salary cap.
Yeah,
it's actually a thing.
But when you adjust for that salary, point per dollar isn't necessarily the best. If you really adjust for it, like adjusted point per dollar, Contreras is higher.
What's the adjusted points per dollar number on Contreras?
It's I plugged it into the bet. It says it's bigger than Kirk's.
What's the number? Exactly. Mathematically, what is the number?
I think it's like 600 or something. It's a high number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We will go with that.
Cool.
All right. Carty, any thoughts?
But yeah, we're actually not on the, we don't disagree here at all. Like Contreras is the guy you spend up for if you have the money. Kirk is the guy you go down to if you don't. On FanDuel, you can even play Contreras at 3-3. You don't have to play catcher, obviously, but he's good enough where you can definitely just do that on FanDuel instead of a first baseman.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Donk saying, hey, Roth, it just started raining here in DC. The clouds look horrible and gray. There's going to be some off and on sprinkles. And I mentioned they do stupid stuff in Washington. A late start wouldn't shock me, but there's very little rain in DC. The game's going to play. Even knowing Washington does stupid things, the game is still going to play, and it's not going to get interrupted mid-game. So don't sweat it, even though there is some rain there. Okay, first base, Carty, what do we got?
Yeah, so on FanDuel, again, you can play Contreras if you want to do that. I'm okay with it. You do have CJ Cron in Coors, who is the top first baseman on the slate. He's 3.5 on FanDuel. He's got the platoon advantage. He's hitting 4th. It's the best park. It's the best weather. It's Colorado, sure, but Cron's their best hitter, and I'm fine. I'm fine playing Cron. You do have Vlad, who projects almost the same. He's a little more expensive, but if you want to get up to Vlad, you can. They're in Boston. It's not great weather, but it is basically the second or third best park in baseball after Coors. So Vlad is going to be a great play. On DraftKings, Vlad is considerably more expensive, so I think you're better off just keeping him in your stacks or as a one-off in GPPs. But you have Cron at 5-1 that you can get up to, or you have Luke Voigt on the other side of that game. Presumably he's in the lineup. I still don't think we have him.
TJ just said Tellez over Voigt. I haven't seen it, but that would be that's what apparently Tellez.
Well, Yelich, Adames, Contreras, Rousseau, Tellez.
Oh, they're both in there.
They're both in.
Of them.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. So who's not in?
Just good question.
At it here.
Who are we missing?
Somebody will tell us.
Yeah. But yeah, for these purposes, Brian Anderson, maybe, is he out?
Oh, there it is. Brian Anderson.
Yeah.
Tellez is playing 3rd. That's going to go well.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right.
Cannot imagine. All right. We all have something to watch now.
To fit Rowdy Tellez in there against a lefty, you're going to let him play 3rd base. All right. Good work. See how that goes.
Okay.
But yeah, you have Cron and Voigt in Coors. Like in cash, that's kind of what you do. In GPPs, you can do other stuff. Pasquantino is always a little bit too cheap. I think Josh Naylor is interesting. Really cheap guys, you have like Andrew Vaughn, Tristan Casas on DraftKings if you need to save a little bit of money. On FanDuel, you have like Ty France and Naylor and guys like that I think are fine if you need to go down and save a little bit. But yeah, in cash, it's just play one of the Coors guys or maybe Vlad on FanDuel or like one of the Coors guys and Vlad or that kind of thing.
Very good. I will note it looks like Tellez is DHing and Rousseau is at 3rd.
I prefer Tellez at 3rd.
Yeah.
That's where I'm doing it.
Yeah. Cheese, your thoughts at first base?
Yeah. So what I mentioned at the top, like I love a couple of right-handed power bats in the Coors game, and that would be Cron. Like I don't have to be stacking Colorado to play CJ Cron. At the same time, I was just told moments ago that raw points matters and not points per dollar. So I guess Vlad is the play over Cron. DK for raw points because math.
It's a tough thing to figure out, Dave. I get it. Like I get it, but you kind of need to balance the two. You kind of need to balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So math is needs to be balanced. It's not actual numbers. I understand.
Math is also just whatever I say. So, you know,
right.
I can make math whatever I want it to be.
Yeah, that is true. Outside of the Coors game and Vlad, I don't think you really want to spend up. You know, Mountcastle's kind of mid-range. You had the big game last night. Vinny P and Naylor are okay, mid-rangey. But it's not a super deep position. So I really think Crone and Vlad are going to be popular spend ups.
Okay, second base.
Oh, second base. Tonight is one of those nights. I'm going to play Gleyber Torres against Bieber. But man, I would like to spend nothing on nobody. So like Owen Miller, Louis Garcia, even against Stroman, like that's on DK. Caballero is minimum salary on DK against Sears. This is far and away the worst position. So if you're just going to totally punt, I think this is the place to do it and play a 2K hitter so you can spend up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that I like. There's just players with names, and that's all this is.
Okay, very good. Carty, your thoughts? A lot of people saying, how about Gorman, right?
Are you guys familiar with a Disney animated movie from like the 50s called The Three Caballeros? It's Donald Duck and two other random birds that go around like South America, and like it's not great. But one of the birds' name is Jose, and there's a real life baseball player named Jose Caballero, and I think that's pretty cool.
I did not know. Isn't a Caballero like I thought it was
I think it's like a
Mexican
gentleman
wrangler. A what?
Yeah, something like that.
Now I got to Google it. I don't know what the hell.
I didn't know those things had names.
Yeah, it's Panchito, it's Jose, and it's Donald Duck.
Well, there you go.
All right.
When you Google it, one of the people also ask, why did Disney make Three Caballeros?
Yeah, it was not even close to what Caballero means. So, all right. Carty, what are we doing at second?
I want to play Jose Caballero. Come on. It's a crappy position. Like, I feel like I got to do it. But actually, like, he's 2K. It's fine because second base is so terrible. Like, you can totally play him if you want. Cheese mentioned Louis Garcia, who's fine too. I just don't feel good about spending up on like Gleyber Torres or Jorge Polanco against Cease, or like none of this stuff is like that good today. So I kind of think you just punt it. On FanDuel, it's different because you have Ryan McMahon who's eligible at second, and I think you just spend up for McMahon. But otherwise, like, this is a real bad position.
Okay. Take me to third. When I Googled it, by the way, Caballero, nothing came up, but everyone in the chat says it's like a horseman or a cowboy. I thought it was a Mexican horseman or a Mexican cowboy, but
isn't a vaquero a cowboy?
I don't know. Now I got to do more Googling. Take us to third base. I'll keep Googling.
Yeah, I need an answer to this. So Brian Anderson was going to be the play, but he is no longer in the lineup. And so you can't play him. You have Brousseau, though, on I guess on both sites, but especially on DraftKings relative to like the other guys that are kind of near the top. Brousseau's the guy that I have the most interest in. He's 3.5 on DraftKings. He's 2.6 or 2.8 rather on FanDuel. So I like him quite a bit. Eugenio Suarez is also really interesting tonight. He's always a guy who's super boomer bust. Like in cash, he doesn't feel great, but in GPPs for sure. He's got power. He's against a lefty who gives up a bunch of fly balls and home runs. It's a tough park, but I like him quite a bit for tournaments. You have Anthony Rendon, who's really cheap on FanDuel, who's fine. But I think you can also just like spend up on FanDuel to like, especially if you're playing Cease over Gilbert and you have a little bit of extra money, you can spend up for Rafael Devers or Matt Chapman, who are kind of like the top tier of guys. And Jose Ramirez is probably in that mix too.
Okay. Carty from Izzy, Caballero is the Spanish word for knight or gentleman and is used.
That's what I said at first.
That is
roll the tape back. That's what I thought it was.
That is what you said. And then Kirkwood said, I thought it was a strip club. Thanks. Very, very helpful there.
Let me tell you, if you watch that movie, those birds are not gentlemen. They're chasing girls along beaches. They're not gentlemen at all.
Seems like you've watched this recently.
I have no comment on this matter.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna have to watch it. Cheese, third base. What are your thoughts?
I'm hoping that with Anderson out, most people will just spend down to Brosseau because he fits in your Milwaukee stacks, and then you have money left. Because I love Devers and Chapman, like spend up to be different, and Jose Ramirez, who is too cheap on FanDuel. But yeah, I want Devers and Chapman as much as possible, making it a spend up position. But certainly, Brosseau hitting cleanup is too cheap. I agree. Suarez is always an interesting tournament play. I'm going to throw Patrick Wisdom in there too, as who might hit 2 home runs. But yeah, and Devers, Chapman, Ramirez.
Okay, very good. Shortstop.
Is it my turn? Sure. So this is like what I said with Crone at first base. Regardless of whether I'm stacking or not, I'm definitely playing Willy Adames and CJ Crone as much as possible. There's nothing sneaky about that. He'll probably be the most popular player on the slate. And I don't want to leave out Bo Bichette and Bobby Witt. John FanDuel, I'll have lineups with both of them, or 2 of those 3 shortstops. DK, like Witt at 5,000, and then those 2 at 6,000. You can't exactly just do that in every lineup, but that's kind of why we like the Uno Caballero at second, so that you can just spend up at shortstop. You could do like Zach Neto or CJ Abrams. Tovar is fine, but this is like spend up if you can spend up, and I think you can, and just punt 2 other places.
Okay, very good. Carty, by the way, Frederick says Carty's knowledge of classic Disney is remarkably cool to learn. I feel like, do you like musicals and show tunes, or am I making that up?
I don't think we've ever discussed it. I'm not like a huge show tune guy, but like I probably have more knowledge of it than like the average man. But I'm not like it's not like my
some knowledge of it.
Yeah, some knowledge of it. Yeah, and that's not a dig. I don't know. I had that connection for some reason. All right, take us to shortstop. What you would do, Carty?
Yeah, it's like Cheese said. Like you want to spend up here, and Willy Adames is like just the clear top tier all by himself. Like it's not even close. He's one of the better hitting shortstops in baseball. He's in Coors Field. He's got the platoon advantage against Kyle Freeland, and that's kind of all you need to know for cash. And then in GPPs, play a one-off, play a guy in your stack. None of the spend downs are appealing to me, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's go to the outfield, where we're going to spend up, we're going to spend down, we're going to spend all around, probably.
So obviously we have Coors guys. You have Yelich, you have Chris Bryant, you have Randall Grichuk, who's back now for Colorado, who is really cheap. He's 2.7 on FanDuel. He's 3.9 on DraftKings, and he's one of the best plays on the whole slate. In terms of outfielders, you have Tyrone Taylor, who's really cheap in the Brewers lineup. Outside of Coors, though, you do have the Jays stuff. You have George Springer, who's ridiculously cheap on FanDuel. More expensive on DraftKings, so not necessarily as much of a priority there, but still going to be a good play. You have Teoscar Hernandez for Seattle. You have Julio Rodriguez for Seattle. I think they're both good tonight. I think Seattle is maybe even a little bit sneaky tonight, but I like Seattle as a stack quite a bit. There's a lot of home run potential. I like all of them as one-offs because of the home run potential. You have Varsho and your Jays with your Jays stuff. Cheaper stuff, you have Jarren Duran in kind of that like low to mid 3s range on DraftKings. That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think the pool tonight for me is pretty condensed. It's mostly Coors, it's Jays, it's some cheaper stuff. And, even like one-offs, like all the top guys, like we don't have a lot of like the elite outfielders on this slate where you're just like, well, you can just play this guy because he's, whoever. I guess we have Trout, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. Okay. Cheese, your thoughts in the outfield?
Yeah, it's not. There aren't even that many options to spend up if you want to, and they're not necessary. I mean, yeah, play a little Mike Trout. Like on FanDuel, especially, that as always, like that 3K range is just silly fantastic. Like Springer and Grichuk and Teoscar, and even Bryant's only 3,700. So you don't need to go dumpster diving. I wouldn't call like Tyrone Taylor dumpster diving, but he's such a more important piece on DK. Is it Weimer or Weimer? I like Weimer. And I think we should just go with what we like. But so anyway, those cheap
like Wiener, and I don't really like the other one.
So the cheap Brewers are like the cash fill-in guys. I also like Ian Happ on FanDuel. There's a ton of guys. I do think a team that's just super cheap overall that I just hate in general is the White Sox. But I mean, Eloy Jimenez, 3,100. I mean, sure, you can play guys like this. But mostly I don't have much to add. Like it's not a super top heavy position, but it's pretty clear who the best plays are. And they're mostly kind of mid-tiery.
Okay, very good. Quick update in New York. I was just looking at radar. Everything still looks as good as you could hope. The showers are still all around the ballpark and not over it. And the showers are nearly stationary. So what you have now is probably what you're going to have for the next hour, 2 hours or so. I think they probably end up just running through a few showers and playing the game without being stopped. So that's it. That's all I've got for weather. And then don't forget, we've got that Oakland slight concern, but I think you just stick with the game there in Oakland. You guys want to give me some home run calls? Carty, you want to give me a kind of a chalky call and maybe something a little sneakier?
Yeah, we could do something like that probably. I think like Crone and Adames are probably your best bets today, and they will be chalky. If you're looking for something a little more off the board, I guess maybe we're looking at like I don't even know. There's not a lot of like real sneaky weird stuff that I like today. Like maybe Dalton Varsho or Rafael Devers. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Cheese, you're up. You had to pick a home run call in the earlier show, and you picked a dude who hit multiple home runs, and then you picked another dude.
I picked a random person you never heard of who hit a home run. I don't think I can beat my Spencer Steer call tonight.
I didn't know that he also did it, because your other guy was who there was another dude you picked.
I think it was just those guys. I don't remember.
Cheese, it was the guy who hit 2 home runs today, and
Christian Walker,
he was your chalky one.
Yeah, I called him to hit 4. The game didn't go long enough. The Spencer Steer random call tonight will be Nick Prado.
Okay, very good. Excellent stuff, guys. We have about 10 minutes here until first pitch. Also, TJ pointing out Christian Walker was a Spidey bomb. He's got 3 Spidey bombs already. If we get I think it was 9 more likes, you will get another Spidey bomb. So if you're the type of person who loves home run calls, then make sure you're hitting that like button, and we will get you more home run calls from TJ. I'm going to pull up the RG Discord. That's where all the cool kids are hanging out. And I'm going to scroll up, and I'm going to take some QQs. I do have a post-lock question for Carty. I will save that. In the meantime, Mlb Dfs says, FanDuel Cash, Carty, Mullins and J-Ram, or J-Rod and Vlad?
The second one.
All right. Cheese, this is kind of a complex question here, but I'm just going to read it cold. FanDuel GPPs, in lineups where Cease is not played, shouldn't the Twins be strongly considered for full stacking in case Cease does the wild thing that he's been doing, plus bad BP behind him, and classic DFS troll night due to Twins flopping last night in a good spot?
Okay, it's a long question, but I understand what he's getting at.
Yeah.
So in general, I do like a twin stack a little bit here and there just for that Cease thing, but I certainly wouldn't say, in any non-Cease lineup, I want to play Twins, because most likely, I mean, Cease is still good. Even when he's bad, he'll still get some strikeouts. So if you're saying like every Cease lineup, I want to play Twins, no, don't do that, or every non-Cease lineup. But I do like a twin stack here and there if you're doing multi-entry.
Okay, very good. Ball says, with Brian Anderson out, which Brewers are in pitch hit danger? Carty, is that who you were going over when you first jumped in, or was that a different team?
It's who he was going over, but we thought Brian Anderson was going to be in. But it's kind of weird because he's a righty and they're already facing a lefty. They wouldn't need to bring in another righty to face a righty. So I'm not sure that changes the risk.
Okay. Yeah, like when a lot of times when you see something like Tellez, a lefty facing a lefty in Freeland, his pinch hit risk is considerably less in that game than it would be in a game where he's facing a righty. Again, because like if they're starting him anyway, like they're not going to take him out when a lefty comes out of the bullpen, you know?
Yeah. All right. That's fair. DKGPP Cheese from Ink Magma. Would spending all the way down at 3 positions just to get a high price stack and 2 good pitchers be stupid? I guess it depends who.
No, it's not stupid.
Very good. Scrolling. Ink says, hey, Carty, do you see the projected ownership on Rockies sticking? The projections show them being pretty low owned compared to the Blue Jays and Brewers.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. It's probably just because they're the Rockies. The Bats ownership is a machine learning model. So like you can't necessarily go in and like see exactly what's driving it or anything, but it, you know, back tests have shown it to be super accurate. So yeah, that's what I would believe. Yeah.
Okay.
And what it shows is like the Milwaukee, like way out in front and then a pretty big gap and then kind of everybody else.
Right.
Which I think that's probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Colorado and Toronto kind of being like neck and neck for like the next team, basically.
Gotcha. Is Alex Manoah usable tonight? A lot of lefties in Fenway. We mentioned it's not great hitting weather. Cheese?
No, not even a little.
A lot of lefties is terrible for him.
Oh, okay.
Like he's super splitsy.
Very good. FanDuel cash question, Carty. 3v3. Contreras, Miller, Brousseau, or Springer, Happ, Taylor?
Read me the first 3 again.
Contreras, Miller, Brousseau.
Yeah, it's that one.
Okay, very good. DKGPP Cheese, I love this question. How bad is the Washington pitcher? He's only 4K. He can't be that bad, right? Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, negative points is bad at any price. That's so. Here's the thing: we don't know. Like, he's not a prospect. We've had a lot of prospects, good ones, come up in the last week. He is not one of them. He's a 26-year-old guy who was kind of okay at AA, moved up to AAA and was pretty bad. And it's Washington. I have no reason to think he's even decent, but it's his first start. Anything can happen. I'm not playing him.
Okay. All right. That's disappointing, but okay. DePrince.
The Bat thinks he's quite bad for what it's worth based on his minor league track record and everything.
It sure looks like it's so scary when a guy moves up to AAA and he's kind of old and he sucks. Like when he moves up a level, he just drops to bad. Like that's a really bad sign.
Right. Because now he's really he's never been up to this league. He's never been to the bigs.
No, 5 starts at AAA is as high as he's been as a 26-year-old, and they were bad starts.
How does he go from 5 bad starts to then get to the show?
Washington. They have no baseball team.
Okay, well, that'll do it. Nick Gordon or our boy Caballero on FanDuel.
Load him up.
Caballero. Gentleman horse rider. Let's go. Gentleman cowboy. Let's see. Guardian sock stack cool on FanDuel? Cheese? Guardian sock stack?
Yeah, I think I would rather use one of them, and then you can use chalkier pieces around them. I don't think you have to play them both in the same lineup, but it's okay.
Okay. SP2 Varland or Manoah in a DKGPP Carty? We got about 5 minutes until lock, guys.
It's definitely not Manoah. Varland, I think, is viable.
Okay, I've gotten some other people mentioning Varland's name. Are you both on board with a little Varland? A little sprinkle?
As like a weird sprinkle, cheap guy to mix things up, like he's fine.
Very good. All right. Let's see. Jumping back into the Discord really quick. See if we got anything new. FanDuel cash question. Carty, Brousseau, Happ, or Contreras, Taylor?
Contreras, Taylor.
Would you say, Cheese, Yoshida or Verdugo versus Manoah?
I guess Yoshida.
Okay. Also, we're really doing a good job catching up on questions. Before you guys bounce, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for us. Free content. All we ask is that we get more eyeballs for our sponsors so we can keep the show free. And the thumbs up, the subscribe helps us get those eyeballs. And we want to keep this free all season and all decade and as long as we can. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for us. Cheese, this is a post-lock question, but we caught up on questions. So when using Plate IQ, specifically the pitch type section for hitters, what are you looking for when using? I'll start with this. Is that something you use or look at?
I assume he means the pitch type comparison down at the bottom. So quite honestly, I might look at that once or twice a year if I have a whole bunch of extra time. Mm-hmm. It's getting so deep into the weeds. And the only time it would be relevant to me is if a pitcher is like a 2-pitch pitcher and you can say for sure, hey, this guy's going to see all sinkers. Right. And you have a huge sample size of batted ball events. But honestly, I very rarely get down to that in my research in a day.
Okay, very good. For Carty, Varland or Sears in a DKGPP?
I think they're both viable as like cheap, weird stuff. I probably prefer Sears, but you're fine either one.
Okay. Pete says Diaz or Contreras, Cheese?
Contreras.
Springer or Teoscar, Carty?
Springer.
Mark Vaughn says Avon, Teoscar, or Voit Eloy, Cheese?
I don't know what that means.
Who's Avon? Is Avon a person?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either, for what it's worth.
Probably not a person, and it's probably like something really easy that I should know, but I don't know baseball players, so I don't.
Andrew Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn is what he means.
Andrew Vaughn. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So then what was the question then?
It was Andrew Vaughn, but like it's very confusing because he spells it A-V-O-N, not A-V-A-U-G-H-N. Anyways, Avon and Teoscar or Voit and Eloy.
Gotcha. Voit and Eloy, and just hope that Voit stays in the game.
Okay, very good. Carty, Rowdy Tellez plus 400 to hit a home run on FanDuel. Got any interest?
I can tell you in 1 second what his odds look like.
Okay.
You can get him plus 500 at Bet365, it looks like, and that is a good play. Plus 400 is not as great. I think he's plus 450 anywhere else. DK, MGM, Betway. So shop around, get your best line.
You know the best way to shop around. Scores and odds. Make sure you got the Scores and Odds app on your phone. It literally shows you for prop bets, for games, all the different lines, where you get the best lines and the best odds. It's amazing. I absolutely love that app. Make sure you download the Scores and Odds app. And then you can sign up for premium and you get expert picks from all of the best baseball minds at RG or just sports minds in general, helping you out with some sports betting as well. It's good stuff. Bay Cheese Cleveland Picker says, what's up? He says, hey.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
It's not what he does.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it is.
That's not it. Hey, we hit the lock, I do believe. We got a couple questions, and then we'll bounce out of here. DK Cash, Cease Blackman Carty or Ohtani Profar?
It's Cease Blackman for me, but I probably prefer other guys to Blackman that are in cores.
All right. Carty, Cheese, FanDuel Cash, Cease McMahon or Gilbert Owen Miller?
I personally would prefer Gilbert Owen Miller.
Okay. And we did have like a post-lock question, or that I kind of, nope, I already closed that at Discord. Sorry, I closed it out. That's that. Try to ask that question again next time we've got this crew on. We are going to bounce on out of here. So for Cheese, for Carty, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.